20 seconds for lighting.
Okay.
Yeah, but that is nice. That's very nice.
Yeah, it's been mobile device.
So much. I will catch up.
And it is delayed.
You just sat down.
I did.
Yeah.
Should I get back?
No.
Asked if you would send him an invitation so he can participate in the meeting.
We are going to live stream this on our YouTube channel today.
Somebody come? Do you want to approve that or you want to wait for Monday for it? If it's over $2,000, I'll call it.
Sunshine on one. Participate, right? Live stream.
Parts for tenders.
All we do is just right here.
My whole day is pretty glorious right now.
Hey Keith, we're going to stream it instead of the old-fashioned way. Go to the far right tab. And then under there it says live and recorded. Just hit the live stream.
Have you got one of these, right? I've got an extra one. Okay. I got everything. Okay, Ray.
Yeah, no,
We
I'm
get
trying
to
So we won't have open communication with you if you want to, if you have something you need to say, you can call ourselves.
I'm going to talk about the edit profile side of it.
Got it?
Okay, for the members and then if you see them.
Yeah, sure. You're not going to see many people because of the configuration, but you'll be able to hear everything.
Yeah, glorious.
All right, thanks.
Feel this?
Bye. Okay, Keith will go there.
Okay, and then Kevin also at 12.
But that means I have to explain something to Kevin. This is what I should have sent you this morning.
Oh, no,
I really haven't had a chance to look at it.
So I got
So you get to stay outside.
Yeah, I've only looked at the first couple of pages.
yeah.
Hey, Kevin, we're going to use the video live stream feature this morning instead of the email link.
I got the
No, you don't have to because we can't see you.
Oh, yeah.
So you know how to get there from our website?
Out in Anacortes, as wide as the bars were at. So, you know, I've seen them get it.
NWFRS.com.
I didn't get that, but
Let me know when you're there.
That's my first guy I got hired with, the 6 of us. Yeah, we're the third, highest senior person right now. Riggs, Malone, Isn't that crazy?
Where are you? I agree.
Riggs is trying to keep.
Call us out. We'll put you on speaker.
Probably I know.
Okay, thanks. But,
Yeah, it was.
so they're both on live stream.
Waste of time.
2 hours to get back.
And so is Joel.
So Joel's live stream gets to his phone, it's quiet.
You just have it right there. You can watch it.
You can hear yourself. That's all we got is Joel's head, right? There it is.
There you are.
Your left
So Chief Burdett sends his offerings and good tidings to the group. He is on vacation this week, but he wanted to pass along that all is well with him and administration things are fine. There's really nothing glaring from his office that he wanted to put on the agenda today. I can hopefully answer questions if you guys have anything regarding his office. If you guys have something that you want to
think about, and I have not been really privy, actually, to understand what we're doing with ballistic gear. But I understand that there's been talk about rebuying the ballistic gear or something.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if we couldn't, before we jump into buying ballistic gear, that we couldn't put like a group of folks together to sit down and hash out and talk about the pros and cons of doing this and looking at, because I just hypothetically use one person on my shift. If I put one person on my shift that's morbidly obese and put on ballistic gear and go inside of a school, I'm going to have a heart attack on my hands. So I'd like to talk about ballistic gear and sending them to school zones and
Sure.
yeah, it just seems like we're, I don't know.
We've been talking at labor management about this for the last 3 meetings or so, because there's been a lot of questions, just like what Bill just mentioned, from the groups out there, and that's why we haven't acted on it yet, because we want to make sure that if and when we do put a program like this together, that the questions are answered appropriately. Some of the major things were, what is the training behind it? You know, what are we going to be to have on this type of PPE if we put into an area that is a high risk area? So those questions and discussions are in process right now, and that's why we haven't gone forward yet.
2 days ago, the NFPA came out with their recommendation for active shooter type stuff. I just saw it pop across the page.
Yeah, you know, it's a sad day when fire EMS has to approach a risk like this. I mean, it really is. This was a technical rescue. You know, we had hiding goal, we had confined space, we had trench, we had all these things in technical rescue from fire EMS that really got geared up. A lot of money and effort was spent on these types of things. And over the years, funding got cut back and those programs kind of diminished and went away. Before I got here, if I'm not mistaken, the city of Bellingham was pretty geared up for tech rescue in a lot of ways, and their programs kind of diminished over the year due to funding and because it's such a low frequency type of an incident that it's really hard to sustain. And what we're seeing nationwide is that these violent incident responses are now more prevalent than technical rescue anymore, just because they're happening more frequently. And so we've been thinking about that, thinking, okay, well, if and when it does happen in our community, what are we going to do? How are we going to prepare ourselves to respond? Because 911 will be activated, and we as fire EMS will respond to these scenes. We just will. There is no one else to help mitigate this risk. I agree. So that's kind of the unfortunate side of the society and the community we live in. We want to try to get ahead of this and make sure that when those calls come in for us, that we are as best prepared and trained as possible. That's the scary part about it, is because it's a risk that is really unknown to us. We haven't been there yet. We started these discussions in ballistic gear last year. City of Bellingham put on some training. They have purchased all the gear and put together a pretty extensive training program for their own. It involved us a little bit, but quite honestly, not very much. You know, we got very little training out of that program because, I mean, it was their agency and it was their organization, that kind of thing. But what we want to do is try to design a program that fits us the best because, again, if and when this situation ever arises in Whatcom County, It is a county-wide response. These are big incidents that require a lot of resources, and we want to try to be as effective as we can and as safe as we can.
Understandably, when the sheriff came by last night, they were talking, they just had a guest speaker from the school shooting a couple of years ago, and they all paid him overtime to come in and listen to this guy. You know, they were talking about all the statistics and stuff, you know, the average shooter lasts 7 minutes, you know, and all this kind of stuff overall. And even the sheriffs were going, I don't know, because we were talking about ballistic gear and that kind of stuff. And we're like, we would make sure that the scene is safe before you guys even thought about going inside of there. Unless we're going to have tactical medics.
There's a lot to think about.
I think after the shooting is the psychological trauma of, you know, some people aren't, I don't know, mentally equipped to deal with a mass shooting with a bunch of kids that have been killed, you know, and I think that we should use a lot of psychological profiling before we send people ballistic gear, send them into the school zones and that type of stuff. I mean, I don't know, I don't know everything there is to know about it, but obviously the NFPA has been doing some homework on it, then we should at least follow their recommendations.
I had a discussion with Captain Ward the other day, and he wanted to emphasize the priorities of possibilities, but we really don't have any capability or training as far as water rescue goes.
Did we have some water training last year?
We saw how to throw a rope. That's the extent of my water training that I've received is throw a rope, and we've got PFDs, but my understanding of talking to Captain Ward is the majority of our PFDs are out of compliance.
I would think they all are there about the same time, right?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, you know, our area has a lot of stuff, you know. We have a lot of potential for a lot of different types of things. It seems like every year we do have something related to water.
I think the other thing to bolster what Captain Davis is saying is we live in a pretty unique community right here in Blaine specifically, and that we have more law enforcement than we know is driving around. So if something happens at our school or our downtown, we're going to have local, we're going to have sheriff, we're going to have customs, we're going to have border patrol, we're going to have FBI, we're going to have
what we will not do is just buy a bunch of gear and throw it in the stations and say, hey, okay, have fun.
I guess that's what I was a little worried about.
Yeah. No, over the last decade or so, nationally, more and more of these violent response things have happened, and each time one happens, fire EMS in there sooner so that we can effect a better rescue. So that's kind of what's going on right now. But we're not quite ready to go there yet. But there's a lot of talk about it and how we can do it. Yeah. And I get the reluctancy, I really do. It's a very risky thing. And but me personally, if we have something like this in our community, these are our kids out there. And I want to see us do the best we can to save as many of them. Whatever that means. Anything else on that? Yeah.
That's the other hand, but I guess she's done.
Yes, I would just add that two things. One is that the sky is very big and the bullet is very small. That just is. And in 10 years of war, from 2001 to 2011, in 2 theaters, we lost about 5,000 troops, mostly to IEDs. And millions of rounds were fired. So that's just math.
Killed the whole IFF, and everybody's going to go, well, we should have been focusing on something else. We shouldn't have been saying, because he's got 2 kids. That's the last thing. Those kids are already in the school or having something happen to them. But for us to put our people in harm's way for no reason. I'm just saying that there's, like you said, how long do we wait? How many people do we send in? What if the gear doesn't fit? What if they're not trained? What if that, I think, like you said, I think it's going to take a long time for us to figure out what exactly, how we want to accomplish this mission. What is our mission?
Now I will have something to say. So if you've gone to the training, and our role, which we've been told by them, is to remain outside in a protected area, even if we're on the edge of the hot zone, in the warm zone, to receive patients and to set up a triage area to deal with patients, not to be the ones who go into the hot zone to deal with an active shooter situation. So all the trainings that we've gone to with law enforcement, we have not been going in unless that area is cleared, and it's just to go retrieve someone who's a viable patient to bring them out. So incident until it was cleared or at least known to be more under control. And so I would venture to say that most likely, unless we had a team that was extremely well trained, which is what Bellingham has, they have a specific trained group of medical team that are trained to go in, then we probably won't be in the hot zone. And we can wear ballistic gear, I suppose, but I think it's kind of a waste of money.
We stage our DVs all the time.
Yeah, we were put a mile out from the incident that was an active shooter that was in our area a few months ago, so they moved us further away. I don't think that we'll be anywhere near where there's anyone shooting, from an incident start, unless it's something that we walk into that we wouldn't know to put the vest on anyway, because we probably wouldn't know that there was someone shooting. I think we need second sets of bunker gear to wear after a fire would be a priority, or water rescue stuff would be a priority here versus ballistic gear, would be my personal opinion. Whatever way that holds, probably none, but.
Well, it is a hot topic, that's for sure. Yeah. And it takes a lot of planning to implement a program like this. So we're going to keep exploring it. Nothing's out there yet. So you're not just going to see ballistic gear show up at your station. All right. Anything else from the chief's office that you guys have questions about? No? Okay. So the next thing on the agenda today, I'd like to throw safety stuff on here, and exposure precautions, PPE, when it comes to infectious disease stuff. Every year we do an OTEP PPE, and so these exposures could have been avoided just because we didn't have all the right stuff. And through the process of an exposure, it can be pretty extensive. And I just want to help avoid the exposure potential. Needle sticks are rare. They do happen, but they're more rare now than anything because we have blood all over himself. He didn't have gloves on. So easily avoidable, but the thing was is that because he got blood on his hands, and he had some little nicks and cuts on his fingers, that it was called an exposure, and he was taken off the line, he was treated at the hospital, and ended up taking the whole prophylaxis to deal with it. So what does that mean to us? Well, it means expose your family to it, so it can mean time away from home and all those other types of things. So I just want to really emphasize the use of proper PPE on these types of calls. We had one the other day that we may or may not have known about it, but we had a severe bleeding patient that actually sprayed blood out of a wound, and we had the potential of getting it in our EMT's eyes and nose and mouth. You guys, do you feel like you're pretty good? Your crews are pretty good about protecting their eyes, nose, mouth on these types of calls?
No.
Or do we kind of
we have shitty goggles. No one wears them.
You have them, but nobody wears them.
Well, they're all scratched.
They're all scratched. They're
lousy to
terrible.
wear, so.
Nobody wears
So
them.
the equipment that you have is unusable?
I wouldn't say it's unusable. It's not clear. I mean, everything's scratched, and I mean, they were bought 7 years ago, and just no one wears them because you can't really work with them.
So have we known about this? Has anybody come to us and say, hey, our equipment
We
is
just keep
unusable?
buying the same cheap.
I wear glasses every time, safety ones, but because they're built-in bifolds. No, just the over the counter. So I wear them so that I can see and not have to use it. No, they were,
No, they got
They were
issued, but
requested.
they were requested, yeah.
I speak too softly.
That was the text we got.
What else? Besides getting better goggles, are we doing pretty good though? Are we protecting ourselves okay? Do we feel like when we approach that, these things are talked about? And
Yeah, normally if we get a good information going up to the call, then people bring blood. This was dispatched as a bleed from somebody had a mole removed from their back. So we expect pretty benign. Okay, so there's some blood on the call. Firefighter peels back the dressing. Some blood comes out. Yeah, we need a flashlight. Get a flashlight, peel it back, and blood squirts up about that far up this lady's back. And luckily, there's no exposure at that time. Had his face far enough away that he wasn't going to get his eye in blood. But it had the potential. It was just we get dispatched to something where we have that expectation. Somebody's cutting their arm, something like that, where you expect arterial bleeding. Everybody's doing it, but I mean, it was pretty unexpected. And then the actual exposure on that was the patient was a mentally disabled person and had blood on their hand and reached over and grabbed the EMT's arm.
that's kind of unavoidable. That's a tough one.
I mean, unless you're fully bound up, it's another unexpected thing. But yeah, I think eye pro would be nice if people had quality eye protection that was individually dispersed. Not, we've got 2 sets of really crummy eye pro on the box, and they get scratched up because they ride, across the dashboard for 3 years. If everybody had a pair that was theirs, had a case.
We can fix that. That's easy to fix.
There's not one of us that approaches a patient without clothes on.
No,
Not one of us ever.
yeah. I would say the company officers there.
Because we're the ones sick, and that happened to me on a call with you as well. And I've been working with that guy all day long, and then our call at 2 in the morning decides to mask up. So I thought he knew who the patient was, and so I went to go mask up because I thought it was the patient, when in turn it was one of us. That was quite irritating, but I already brought that up.
So does everybody know the process if you give it exposure? What to do? Is everybody aware that during regular business hours that the treatment plan is to go to Care Medical and not the EO? So just protect yourself there. I will definitely get into the goggles thing right away. I was unaware of it. So that's an easy fix. We can make that happen. We just want to protect you guys. Masks are good, gloves are good. We have gowns in there that work. I'm assuming that's all good. Okay. All right. We are moving on to Chief Hollander in logistics. And then
some things I'll quickly update you on is the semi-ammo station 62. We've been upgrading that in expectation of staffing that with volunteers. So, yeah, the carpet's been cleaned. There's going to be almost completed a paging radio. The overhead paging radio systems are going to be working again. So if the station gets a tone that will come through the speakers. The stove's been replaced, as we were told that was bad. Carpets have been cleaned, the recliners have been replaced, so I think we've worked our way through the list and got that station back up to an acceptable level. MDC update, the 3 engines are getting done. How did it work? Working? Haven't been on a call yet. 63 was done, 69 was finished this week. And anybody work yesterday? From 69?
I worked the day we got it back.
It should work as good as we had. I think we finally got the bugs out of the system. Although Versaterm itself went down this week. For those of you that worked in, the calls were coming in like an hour after they were happening. So they found that problem. One of the challenges with Versaterm is their offices are in Ontario, Canada. So if there's a system failure, if you don't call them by noon, they're gone. And so it's a delay till the next day till their technicians can look at that. So as of this morning, we're doing engine 12. So that one will be done, and then in a couple of weeks we start on Pilot 63. That will have one, and then we're going to put not tablets, but we'll have the Sierra antennas in the mounts in engine 13 and A6302. So when your apparatus goes out of service, you'll just take your tablet out and put it in, and that it should work just perfectly. We're not going to put an extra tablet in it because of the cost. But moving the tablet, it just comes out of the dock. Every week he sends me an email when I ask him, are we getting it? He says, not this week, maybe next week. And I just got one yesterday that said, not this week, maybe next week. So I have no more information for you on image trend. All I can tell you is the nicety of it is, now that we're using CrewSense, you won't have to go into image trend and add and delete people. CrewSense is going to just flawlessly, smoothly, without ever a problem, going to slide right into image trend and fill those boxes. So we keep looking forward to that. The last thing I got is we formed an ambulance committee to start looking at the committee will actually see the demo unit or an equivalent of the demo unit. So if you have any input or any suggestions on the units we're using now, or you'd like to see a specific change, let one of the committee members or myself know.
Where's the demo gonna be?
The demo is going to be May 14th.
Where?
It's going to be depending on where the committee members are. They'll either have to meet at a station. If they're on shift, I plan on driving it to their station.
You'll notify people so we can stop by and look at it?
Well, it's not so much for everybody. It's more for the committee
Okay.
to look at. We don't want to get down to everybody having 50 inputs. So that's why I'm saying if you have something specific you don't like on your ambulance today,
Okay.
what we're trying to do is save some. The demo unit we're looking at, and one of the things we've already talked about is putting a window on the passenger side. So, other than that, the committee itself will address the questions. We'll come up with a recommendation, and we'll pass that recommendation up to the chief. And then it is a capital purchase item for this year. A demo unit we could get before the end of the year. If we order a spec one and go through all the, we want this going on there and that going up, we're a year out, and another $40,000.
Who's the committee members?
The committee members are Chuck Shipp, Sean Ward, Jason Vanderveen, Wayne, and Chris Jorgensen. That's what I email. So talk to one of them or myself if you have any burning changes. The one thing I will tell you is that after this one, most likely we'll be starting remounts on our existing boxes. So be happy with what you have because it's going to come back around for at least one more cycle. But that will start next year. We need to add one more new one to the fleet before we start the remount process. So that's where we're at with ambulances. And the only other thing, I sent out an email yesterday. The new EMS manager, his name is Mike Hilly. Where he came from, they had a very active peer support group to help folks in our profession, not necessarily helping folks in our department, but helping folks all across the county in any department. So if you're interested in getting some training and being on the peer support group, just I sent you an email and give Mike the lead. That's about it.
Okay. I have a question. Since we were talking about apparatus a little bit, do we have a replacement plan for the engines? I know the one that we run on now is close to 90,000 miles on it. Off the top of your guys'
we've been talking about it, and there's a plan for capital.
I guess I was thinking rough timeline stuff. Are we talking years or 5 years?
If I were to throw a guess out there, I would say sometime next year. We start the planning process, so we put another committee together and make sure that we spec it appropriately and get it replaced in the next couple of years.
It is one of the strategic plan committees.
Yeah.
And so if you're interested in that, we try that committee.
If it's active and going, I'm on
another one. It is like all the other committees. I don't think too many of them.
And all that kind of stuff on the apparatus, and engines are on the top of the list. The 8 cars first because it's got the most wear and tear on it, and it's getting used the most. Engines are next.
Good.
Yep. We probably won't see cabs again.
Good.
Just so you know.
What are we going to cover the solar cells with then?
Do you guys need a break, or you want to keep rolling here?
Keep going.
Keep going? Okay. So, the first thing I wanted to go through with you guys schedule. We're still using Firehouse, and I know that the captains are still using Firehouse for payroll purposes on a daily basis. Eventually, when ImageTrend comes online, Firehouse is not going to be used for scheduling anymore. It's just going to be CrewSense, because CrewSense will then communicate with our new accounting software for your payroll. Okay, so on a daily basis, if you look at this page that I have up here right now, this is who is working, where, for how long. It also shows sick leave, it shows vacation days, all of that. This information will then be daily snapshots of our staffing plan are accurate, and they are. I mean, they're accurate every day. We haven't had any issues with it at all. The administrative staff is also going to be using it as their payroll. So when they have sick leave, they're going to have to go through CruSense and request sick leave, time off, vacations, holidays, all that, and it will be picked up that way. Yesterday, Captain Davidson and I sat down and we started working on the overtime callback feature of this program. And I'm going to let him chat to you a little bit about this here in a second. But in order for that feature to work appropriately, the way that you guys want it to work is that you need to go to your individual profile, how you want to be called back, either by text message, email, or phone call. And I'll show you here real quickly how to do that. And I would ask you to pass this information on to your folks. So I'm currently on my login here, and in the top left corner is my name, and I drop that down. So on that drop-down bar, it drops down to Edit Profile. And I open up Edit Profile, and it asks how I want to be called back. And you just simply fill in the fields that how you want to be called back. This one I have set up for text. You can have it as a phone call, a pager, a mobile app, whatever you decide. And then you hit the same button down here, and you're good to go. CruSense will pick that up, and when the captains initiate the automatic callback feature, then it will call you back in the method in which you want to be called back. That's all there is to it. So,
if I can just interject real quick, then on that, just to follow up. I know I talked with Captain Schmidt this morning about that. We had so I would recommend you set it up in your text mode. And if you go farther down the sheet right there, it shows the notification settings. So if you don't want to be bothered during particular times, the other part will be able to look at, you don't have to be on there. If you're out of town for the month, it won't notify you. Or if you're Mike Weishaw and you don't want to be notified, you don't have to receive any text because it doesn't take any overtime. All right? And I'll explain how that's going to work in just a second. But please set up your phone so it has a text message on there and not a voicemail. Yeah.
That's all it said. I didn't, and it comes from 1-888-762-46. I thought it was a telemarketer and I ignored it.
And all the 900 numbers were used up. So, and then the nice part about that obviously is, and I don't really want to go into the overtime portion of it or whatever, but
no,
okay. So we had talked this morning a little bit about, and I know that there's still some discussion going on in labor and that kind of stuff, but setting it up perspective-wise and looking at calling back for overtime or whatever. Pertinent for lieutenants as well as captains, but right now, I just talked to Captain Schmidt this morning about it a little bit, about how many minutes to wait in between notifying each one of you that it happens. So here's the way CruSense works on overtime. It will take our existing list, we'll set up our existing list, short list and a long list on there, and happen to be Mike Weishaw's number one, we'll put him at the top of the list overall. If it happens to be a B-shift day, CruSense will know everybody on B-shift that's working, and it will automatically skip those folks and not call you. It'll look at it if you're working a 48 in a row. It does all those kind of things to make sure, all right? So it's not, the system has been working, a lot of departments are using it. based on your order of the overtime. And if we're looking for a shift lieutenant, specifically those lieutenants, if you're on duty, it won't call you for the, the following day, if you're on a 48 or a debit day, or you got a sandwich day, or any of that kind of stuff, it knows better. And then we set up the parameters of how long you want to wait in between the next person being called. Captain Smith brought up a point, well, what if I need to check with my wife, and several of you do that, let me call my, my spouse or whatever else. So we can set it up so that it rotates through every 5 minutes then. So if Jeff gets the call and he says, I can't do it, all right, he can put on there, deny, on his phone right away, and it automatically goes and starts to dial the next person without having to wait 5 minutes on it.
That'll be a text send back?
Yep.
Okay.
It's a response through CrewSense.
Correct, it's either confirm or deny.
Yeah.
Right.
Through the app?
Through the
Through the app.
Sorry, okay.
Don't use the number that's going to give you on your phone in the text, because it's a 5-digit number. It doesn't recognize that. So as soon as you hit that to reply yes or no, it doesn't go through. You have to be on the app. All right. Yeah. At the top of your app, it's got the little bell up there. At the very top of your bar, that bell will light up, letting you know that it's in there.
For clarification, app or the site?
Your app on your phone, the CrewSense site. Yeah.
Either or, probably.
Yeah.
The app goes to the site.
Yep.
Okay.
The app is on your cell phone.
I don't have the app. I have a shortcut to the site, and I just go right into the site.
Okay.
That would work.
This way, if I needed to download an app.
The app works fast.
It does work fast.
Would you have to, like, upon notification of a text message, would you have to get internet access to confirm it within 5 minutes? There are multiple times where I've got my phone, but I don't have internet access.
You won't even get pinged.
You shouldn't get the text now. You would even. Don't respond in 5 minutes. It automatically rolls to the next person. If that person takes it, and then you call, or you say, oh, I want to confirm that or whatever, it'll tell you, oh, position already been filled.
Yeah.
So that you know that you missed your 5 minute window in there. And it can be 10 minutes or 15 minutes. But part of the point is that if we come in at 8 o'clock and you start doing the schedule and you realize the firefighter needed overtime, you can set CrewSense up to start calling right away at 9 a.m. And it will
So you change it that
Yes.
day to, okay.
As a shift officer, you can change that time. It's merely a toggle, and I can put page immediately on the bottom of that as well, and we'll show everybody, how to
It'll
do
show
that.
the time of the shift that's needed.
Yep.
So
No,
it'll
I just
tell
meant
you.
the duration of time spent waiting between phone calls.
That's
If
it.
you need it filled ASAP, we'll just go call.
Yep.
They can set all that.
Yep, we can set all that up.
It sounds like it's got all the bugs worked out pretty much.
You do already. So it's not.
Which is something we do already, exactly.
In a different program.
And if you obviously don't do anything with your phone, it just leaves you right where you are. So if you don't respond at all, one way or another, it just skips you in 5 minutes, calls the next person, calls DJ Real, next real lieutenant's overtime. Yes.
So what if my 5 minutes expires and it's moved on to Vanderbeek,
Yep.
and then I realize that I can take it? Am I able to take it then, or I'm out of the loop unless I call?
You're out of the loop.
Okay. Yep.
If Dean takes it, or if it's still going down
Still
the list,
going is what I meant, yeah.
I
If
believe.
it's still going.
Yeah, you can hit,
still accept it.
take it.
you can still accept them.
Okay.
It'll say position's been filled.
Right.
So you know that somebody's already taken the OT.
If Dean takes it, go buy a lotto ticket, because something's up.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and the other part about it is that that's nice for the shift officer, because you know it's gonna start at 9 o'clock, and if you get a BLS transport or whatever else, it still is doing the call out for you automatically. It's going through, or if you're on a structure fire, it's doing the call out for you. as it's doing and filling the position.
And then the shift officer's phone will be, so he has his phone with him, it'll be alerted, and he'll know wherever he is that it's been filled.
Right. And it takes and dumps you into CrewSense, but it pulls you over on the side right there, and it says callback, and it's got a special. Of course, you can get on CrewSense and take a look and see, well, 61's taking an officer. Right. We can do a little work. I mean, yeah.
And they also have the ability to put in a note, there's a note section in there that he may put in there, respond as the officer to station 12, and you'll know the shift time and where to go. So he can put that in there, he doesn't even need to talk to you. It all comes through on that message.
Yeah, it'll tell you where to go for your station report. Let's just say hypothetically, if I need coverage at noon, it'll say, it gives you the time and all that kind of stuff, and go to station 12 at noon, for your new station.
So at 8:55 a.m. you can go back to the recliner or go to bed and get it taken care of.
Yesterday, you tested it out as a captain group. You said you ran a test.
We ran a battalion test.
We ran a battalion as well.
Joe gave me like 3 seconds. He got it.
Are the parameters set as far as the program goes? Like, we don't do captain for captain or lieutenant for lieutenant currently.
Correct.
So, are we just going to be officer or, okay.
I'll show
You can do both, lieutenants and captains.
So what you do is you, here, I'll just stick some days in here. This could be a big shift.
It's really not helpful from this side of the room. It's like a miniature. It's not too obvious.
Feel free to walk up there.
So,
Big giant.
Jig Newtester wants to start this the 1st of June, so we have some time to practice and do that kind of stuff, which makes sense. Again, it did not work with the, calling your phone, so, put the text on there, that if you don't want to be called particular hours that's on the side of there, if you have kids and stuff, and you can't, you don't want a phone call from midnight to 5 in the morning, you can set that parameter up as you probably currently have yours on there right now. So
I'm going to set that up on my phone.
Good luck.
No calls from midnight.
Also doesn't alert you if you have a structure fire or whatever else.
So I'm wondering, yeah.
Because mine does not go off from midnight to 4 a.m.
Right. Because that was
this
like.
Shit isn't easy. I gotta get some sleep.
So it is integrated into every other, like that was the problem with Fire Manager. Like when I was up at 1 or 2 in the morning and approving shift trades and approving vacation days, people were getting alerts.
Those are settings that can be changed.
But can they be split? Like I don't want to know that DJ accepted.
This will go through process. I go through emergency.
Or
It's a different program.
You know,
Call back for fires is a
Okay.
different program.
Yeah, absolutely. This is just for overtime.
This is not for fallback.
Yeah.
So to answer your question about the groups, like, if you didn't want just captains, you wanted all company officers, this is where you set this up. You pick the groups in which you want to call back.
and you put multiple groups.
Yep.
There's pros and cons, but I think, like yesterday, I needed a short list overtime. It took me 42 minutes to fill overtime yesterday for one person. I had 3 people calling sick. It took me 42 minutes to find a 12-hour shift. I don't mind doing the work and stuff, but 5 hours doing time cards yesterday and 42 minutes calling overtime. And they're left pretty much 0 training time for my guys. Yesterday.
So do we, if you want to go live in June with this,
The first part of June, yeah.
would it be a prudent decision to run June, run both means? It's more work, but run them parallel. Run CrewSense, but whatever happens with CrewSense, make the necessary adjustments on the Excel spreadsheet that we currently have, just in case we run into
I would
problems.
imagine that you guys will manage both for a while.
Yeah, this one.
just maybe for the first 15 days.
Something like that, yeah.
Like if, you know what I mean, if a guy turns it down via text, but if there's no response, maybe we call just to make sure that they got the text.
We're gonna do some testing in the month of May. We'll do some random testing out there and see how people are responding and making sure the system's working right. Maybe the first, when we go live with it, it's probably not a bad idea to have some redundancy just to make sure that people are getting the notifications right.
Yep. Because I don't know if you can go into CrewSense and see where your position is.
Oh, yeah.
In the union stance. Right now, you can go look at the Excel spreadsheet and say, oh, I'm number 5 down the list, and I'll call my wife right now because I know if these 3 guys work me, I'm probably gonna get the overtime or whatever. I don't know if you'll be able to do that on CrewSense actually. I don't know if you'll be able to see where your standing is up there.
Where is that?
That list in a lockbox.
Is there a way, there's no way to open it up and look at it, or?
The CrewSense one or the?
CrewSense for the overtime, what position you're in?
Yeah, to make sure names aren't being moved around arbitrarily.
Oh.
What I can't go and change it. And I gotta call.
Call them.
I don't know how that list is.
Troy, we close.
You know, I don't know how that list is managed out of CrewSense.
Well, this one here, and I'm not sure exactly what all the permissions are for the firefighters. I really don't
Right,
know.
because yesterday I started manipulating the overtime list to match our current list on our Excel spreadsheet. So I started to move people right away on there to start getting that, because I know we're gonna do some.
So there you are, there's your list, right?
So this,
They'll have to look at their list.
this is what we see on CrewSense, but I'm not exactly sure what all the permissions are. I'm not sure if you guys can have access to this, I just don't know.
You said Bellingham can see their list? Does Bellingham use CrewSense?
Yep, that's how they
okay.
call that now, CrewSense.
Hey Cap, is there a way to set it, does the callback automatically fire off at the same time every day? Can we set it to go at 9 o'clock?
You can.
I think that's great.
Right, I mean, if it need be.
Yes, if it needs to.
I mean, because the guy didn't call until noon, then you gotta reset
But I'm,
the parameters.
for scheduled
What you're saying is.
for scheduled overtime the next day, the call starts at 9.
So what you're saying is you can expect your calls around 9
Right, that's
o'clock in the morning instead of wondering all day.
Exactly, that's the
That's
thing
what
I
I'm-
really
that's
like about
consistent.
it.
That's what I'm getting.
Automated.
Yeah.
Scheduled overtime would, you know.
It'll start at 9 o'clock every day, which is good.
So if somebody calls in at noon, Captain, you have to manually do it? So if they call in at noon, for example,
Yep.
you have to manually go into CrewSense and get started.
Is that, yeah, I can see it, but the officers are split up, so I don't know where the captains rank in amongst the little
Split
people.
up captains and lieutenants.
So should we
I know,
Right, is
but
that right?
in the overtime list, they should all be
Maybe
together.
just
make it officers?
make it officers, yeah. Yeah. Make a company officer list.
I think we're gonna need to do that since we don't do separate overtime.
Yeah, I think we can do that.
Or we just.
Like for like.
We can do that.
I don't know.
We can just merge.
Don't say that now. Say that live.
Oh,
Say that.
all in favor, say aye.
What's that?
That was a bad summer, I don't want to do that again.
One thing really nice about this too, from an accounting perspective, is that when that shift is accepted, that's your payroll. You're already attached to that time frame, and so that's how you get paid. Sick leave is the same way. You go to CrewSense and you request sick leave, the officer approves it. it's added into the lineup, and that's your payroll. You know, this thing also will be, we're gonna load up your accruals in here, sick leave and vacation accruals, and so right out of your bank. So you guys will be able to keep up on CrewSense what your accrual ratings are.
And I think we're still at Captain's Point, so I'm gonna have to do a little bit of work on that, because I found one glitch yesterday on CrewSense payroll, but it was kind of a weird anomaly about, yeah, I'm not devastated, but it does a pretty good job as far as now we have, instead of us spending 5 hours doing a timesheet that's trying to match the firehouse, or Chris Marks is reading something else because create edited after 8 o'clock versus 7:45 or whatever, which maybe you off of there, or you get called in for overtime and you forgot to get put on there. I put you in the back door and it doesn't read you on the list, you know, and anyway, it'll make life a lot easier for us, as far as actually.
That's fine. Anything else on that?
Seems like it's really intuitive and it's gonna work out well for somebody.
Yeah, pass it on to your crews, you got your phone set up for the text and stuff, and then kind of show them on the app or website where they're using it, but I think most people probably use the app.
There's an app.
There's an app for that, yeah.
There's an app for the apps, I mean, you just got,
There's an app manager.
If you guys don't mind, let's take about a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back and into the rest of the session.
Scott Brown's gloves.
Oh, yeah, I'll give breaks. Come on, guys. It's not that hard. Of course.
and then go all the way to the bottom. There's where
No, keep my gloves. Can't take them back.
My gloves. Yeah, just see the list. Cool. I will let you know when you guys go physically. I asked him if he could, if he goes to his parents' house, to drop him off at the station.
Are you real now?
Sounds good.
Yes.
See you here for real.
We've had the same issue.
Yes, so. You're the real deal.
That. Call him every morning.
Oh,
right.
Good. How are you?
Good.
Get down that phrase. Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy. Hey, Tesser. Hey, Tesser. Hey, you know, Tesser.
I think we got to do that every morning, because otherwise it's not because you know, like on my logins and everything, it's T Esser, and Johnson just thought that was so funny. Tesser, and that's how I do. I can bullshit with him. Like sometimes it'd be Lieutenant Esser, like something's wrong. Like I got to do something right now, otherwise. And so I do where I was going with the conversation. Tesser, how's it going, man? What are you up to? Like, hey, Cap, what's going on? I see you took your uppers today. I know you're busy with your finance meeting. All new taxes for a year of accounting on just kind of talking about some expectations and how the codes work together. And then we haven't worked together a whole lot, so I want to make sure that I'm holding my end of the bargain and make you look good, you know. So, yeah, sometimes we live right by each other, so you make it. But like I said, I know we got a lot going on off the bar. Kids, they're freaking, they ruin everything. Jeff Stokes, his kids are just out of the house and bugs me.
My dog and my boat. Life's good.
Yeah. really like your artwork.
Yeah, take care of it all for you. Yeah, yeah. What now?
I'm
That'd be
just
really
saying,
nice.
the list just gets long this time of year.
Right.
Yeah. My yard just changes twice a day.
Tied in,
Tied out, yep.
All good.
You still gonna come by tomorrow?
Yeah.
Jennifer has.
We don't like that. There's nothing planned. Anytime's good.
They didn't say that. I mean, I moved pretty much pretty fast. Like about an hour. Yeah, that one, I told them.
The other back was hit by the one.
Oh, really?
Oh, my last shift.
After we take my two down in
Mine still works.
My daughter's like, most days,
Ron never.
next to us, their owners know.
That's a job.
Yeah, we're yeah, sorry about
So I spent the whole day cleaning.
Yeah.
I
give you living with me now at 63 anyway.
Yeah.
I used to love driving. Sure.
Probably could have been back. And then come back in.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
I've heard good and bad things about that.
Yesterday.
I would love to try to figure out how to
Is that the back side? So you have Hillsdale? Okay, moving right along here. Before we get too far into this, I would just like to congratulate our two new company officers. So congratulations, Captain Airholm. Very good. And congratulations, Lieutenant Hofstad. Congratulations. Really like to see you guys.
We'll see what Saturday goes.
Yes.
Day shift is already swarming the water.
We got some stuff to talk to you about Station 69, yeah.
Because his current captain doesn't know anything about that.
Welcome. And then also, I got word yesterday that Captain Ward will be back on the 6th, back in full duty, so good to have him back also. So Lieutenant Page, thank you again for your stepping up. We do appreciate you. Did a great job, 63. Do appreciate you doing that. And Jeff, same with you. Thanks for stepping up and covering stepping down there for a while. Do appreciate all that work. How is V-Fire 3 working for everybody? I know we talked about this the last few months. Prospect has been pretty good about throwing us on that channel if we get a working fire, but any comments, feedback?
The only hard thing is if units are a long ways away, like the battalion's responding from a significant distance away, we miss some of that unless it's repeated.
Okay. I'm glad you said that, DJ, because I always have had an issue with, depending on the dispatcher, depending on the time of day, them repeating traffic. On other calls, they're not. Like on NBA, sometimes we don't hear you guys. If we're en route, a lot of times we don't hear that follow-up traffic. So I sent an email to Chief Wilson last week asking him please to pass on to his dispatchers that they get better about repeating traffic so we can hear it. If they just say copy, that doesn't mean anything. I have no idea what was said. So we're working on that to get them to copy it. But V-Fire 3, though, for fireground operations, is working. I wanted to make sure we followed up on this. Since we've readjusted our fire blocks, we eliminated the Custer fire block, obviously, but we've integrated some other areas up, especially in the north part. How's that working?
I think we've
Set for response criteria into those areas.
I think there's still a dead zone that hasn't been fixed. That's 61 should be covering, but 63 is the one that's always dispatched.
Is that the
it's
8th Street Road.
8th Street Northeast.
Yep, 8th Street. Is that in the 63?
Sunrise and H63 is dispatched to
The north end of 68.
Yeah, the north end of 68 should be 61.
So between Delta Line and it includes Peace Road, that's on the north side of H Street, that whole section running east from Delta Line Road. That used to be in, I don't know why it ended up in 63's area to start with, but
71's calls got bumped over.
But 71's, yeah, I think that's when it happened, is 71's calls got bumped over, and for some reason that north area got included in that, and it shouldn't be. And
it should be 61.
It should be 61.
Okay. So that's one thing that we need to look at. We can make those changes.
Wasn't it 1325? For them to get there, it was 13 for us. We toned out 63 though for that.
Yeah, all of H Street Road should be 61.
Yep.
It's a straight shot for them.
Yep. Okay.
All the way to the guy?
Pretty much.
I'm fine with it.
Because they're already on that side.
It would make sense because even 69 gets tapped out the other night, DJ, wouldn't it, for the fire alarm?
Yeah, the lower numbers are 69's area.
Right. But that was all the way to East Street and Guy or something. Didn't you get tapped out the other night?
It was the Bachman Mansion.
Yeah.
Five seventy-seven or seven fifty-five.
7 or 500.
Yeah.
That's 69.
Yeah.
That's
Which was a
basically,
really cool place to walk through, by the way.
that's
Figure out
yeah.
what the,
Yeah.
you know, who's gonna get there
Oh, yeah,
faster.
you can go around too.
I actually got
I made a note.
Okay.
We'll review that.
We'll look at that and see if we can make those fixes. And then along those same lines, Station 42 out of Ferndale. Have you guys seen them being picked up on working fires up into Birch Bay and Blaine?
On 8 calls.
And they call?
You're third in yet for that area.
Alright.
Yeah, but
That
a
part's
few,
gonna
couple
work
of
pretty good.
reports actually, we've had concurrent calls, we've had some covered calls for us, without a roadblock unit ever built.
For that, you can just, yeah. They're not responsible. Okay. Chief Hollander, would you talk to us about image trend and EPCRs a little bit, and kind of where we are for that?
Well, yeah, sure. One day when we get image trend, that'll be a miracle, and then we will get it, and that will be your replacement of your firehouse software. Then when you go out on your calls to deal with your patients, you'll have another tablet. It'll probably be an iPad, is what it looks like the county's going to recommend. So you'll be doing only be one call number. Medics will use the same call number, we'll use the same call number. Your narrative will go in there, their narrative will go in there. And eventually, when you get to the hospital, the medic will just bump with the hospital and the data will go right in there. The plan will be down the road, and they call this the 200-day plan after you get it, is if that patient had been in the hospital 2 days ago, or a month ago, or 6 months ago, that information would come up on your tablet when you arrive at that house. So you'd have all that patient history. So that's kind of where we're going with the ECIPs. Or the ECPRs, a lot of E's here. Also, when you start your pre-fire plans, that will also be on the tablets, and there'll be a program on that you'll record all that document. Data will automatically populate also on the tablet. And it probably will also populate on your MDC. So that's a good question. I think it will.
So, Chief, when you
I say probably because I can't be held to standards anymore on computers.
We've been told through the planning process for the last several years with VersaTerm and Image Trend and all of those, that those are the capabilities of these software programs. But we haven't seen them actually work yet. So they keep telling us, yep, it's a capability, we can do that. But until we get it in place, we don't have this one.
And the county's going to come out with a recommended tablet. And right now, it looks like it's going to be the $400 iPad in a case. I look forward to carrying that with you out. Might be on the calls.
Chris, the medics probably teach us how to do that.
We've been having the medics kind of show us a little bit.
Some of the medics are already carrying it, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah, because Bellingham's been using image trend since January.
Of course.
And I'll just leave it at that.
So, Chief Hollander, when you say that those tablets will be for pre-fire planning too, does that mean that that tablet just moves between the engine and the ACAR then? Because if that's happening and
Yes, you just take your tablet with you out of the ambulance. Because most likely you do your pre-fire plan, you're going to have your ambulance with you, I would guess. If you're not,
I think of it more of if you're on an 8 call and you're using the tablet, and then you get a fire call as you're pulling back to the station, as well as your.
Well, but remember, because now you'll be on image trend, right? And that data that you got for that fire you're going on has already uploaded to image trend, so you'll hit the pre-fire plan button on your MDC, and the information you collected will pop up.
So it'll be in the MDC as well. I don't
the
have
collection point will be the iPad.
Got it.
But then once it'll automatically bump butts or whatever it does, and it uploads the data into image trend. Yeah.
that's what it's supposed to.
Well, we're
hotspots, and so So the iPad will actually be talking to your Sierra antennas, and they have a pretty good range. And they will work even without internet connection. So if you go into a building and do a pre-fire plan, and you fill all the boxes, put all the information, even if you don't have internet, when that iPad comes back to that apparatus and hooks up, then it syncs automatically. Same thing with patients. You can do patient information without internet. It just waits for that signal, and once it has it,
made abundantly clear that, number one, we are not going to test appliances, ladders, pump testing, anodes. That's all going to be separate from hose testing. I think the idea last year was that we were going to try and be efficient with cramming all that stuff in, and it just turned into a big giant mess because of personnel issues as far as numbers and all that. It just wasn't efficient at all. It was too labor intensive. The second thing I've been roundly, I thought that maybe guys might want to test in cooler months, later in the fall or in the spring, and I was my thing, but no, I communicated with all the captains. Captain Johnson had some great input. No, he didn't. He had so much input to retire.
Are we still using track stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going back to tracks.
I had a nice conversation with Captain Schmidt with some ideas, and then I got an email back from Captain D agreeing with the 25 bullet point email that I got from Captain Ward. Most of it was don't steal tools out of the mezzanine. So, right. In all seriousness, for your guys and for Captain Ward's peace of mind, we are working on getting has a full-on cart outfitted with everything you'll need to hose test. It probably isn't going to happen this year because it's going to be about a $7,000 outlay. David crunched the numbers the other day with mechanics and ordering. It's just not going to happen this year with the budget we have. But we are working towards so that you guys will have that gray cart, baskets full of your appliances, that will have caps with the little relief valves on them. No nozzles. The nozzles are too expensive and too dangerous to toy with like that as far as pressurizing and everything. We want a laminated sheet so that you can look at your cart and be able to say, okay, that's here, that's here, that's here. That'll all be communicate with Captain Schmidt and Captain Ward. I think we've come to the consensus that we want to start testing mid-June, starting with the rack hose, kind of as a trial run, so that everybody knows what they have. We get that stuff tested so that if there is an issue with something on the rigs when we start testing those, the rack hose is already tested, and we can start shuffling that stuff onto the rigs as needed if we have to pull something off the engines. And then hitting it hard in July, August, and possibly September for the total timeline of the hose testing. Captain Jorgensen I'm working with him on keeping the quarterly training somewhat less so we have more time to do this. And obviously training is a priority, so I leave it to your guys' discretion to train as needed on any given day. But what I'd also like to do is assign each crew their engine of their collateral duties. D shift 12, you guys were station 11. It makes sense you guys take engine 11. We take 13, and so on and so forth. And I think that worked out really well last year. It also prevented from years past guys passing on half an engine to other crews. Hey, we tested the LEH and the 2.5, we didn't test the engine 3/4. A call comes in, an hour goes by. Wait, what did they say they tested? They tested the engine 3/4 and the, oh crap. And let them handle that as needed. So other than that, that's kind of what I told you that one meeting you and I had together. If there's any comments or questions or concerns, certainly email me. I'm going to be updating Captain Aaron Holtz on all this, and David Conway. The record keeping is gonna be the same, we're gonna try to use the phone. If you feel like you wanna write stuff down first and send it to us, that's totally fine too, we can do data entry ourselves. So hopefully we can, at some point, maybe build something in the budget for a better thing than just an Excel spreadsheet on a phone, maybe a tablet for that too.
Well, let's see what Image Trend comes up with.
Maybe, yeah, so,
Supposed to get it next week.
Supposed to get it next week.
Chief, does that sound like everything I covered with you?
Yeah, that's
at one
great.
time?
That's
Okay.
great. I just want everybody to hear the plan,
Yeah.
and thank you so much for getting all that together.
Yep.
We do appreciate that.
Thank David Comp for putting in all that data.
David's actually taken the bull by the horns. I can't say that enough. He's really made my life easy with his collateral duty. So, you know, you almost want to, if you have any questions, you almost want to ask David, because he probably knows more about the hose than anybody at this department. So, between having a probie and the other duties that I have, I've really kind of put the onus on him to figure it out, and he's done a great job.
You must have spent hours and hours and hours.
Response out of there.
That was the first thing he brought up at the coffee with the fire chief too. He hit Chief right away with that. I think Chief thought he was serious for about 30 seconds.
Well, I thought what we should do is take the riding lawnmower and make it Medic 12.
Right, yeah, that's a good
And put
idea.
some ladders on the side of it down there.
They can have ours.
Yeah.
Just sit at 63.
I mean, we have a city right there. I'm just saying, it would make sense.
You guys are in the city.
You guys could have a fire safety house. We could have a ladder truck. You know.
Interested, it's open until June 1st, and they need to go to public safety testing to get their written and CPAT done, and we will be doing interviews in June. So, if you don't anybody.
So they have to have tested by June 1st?
They need to get yes, they need to get their testing done by June 1st.
Okay.
If they've already tested this year and selected North Waltham, are they still?
Then we're good.
They're good.
Mhm.
I'll let you know.
I'll get. That by after the interviews are done in June, we'll know exactly how many. I can tell you that we have 3 placeholders at North Bend, so we have 3 spots reserved for training there. That would be our goal, is to get 3 of those spots filled. But until we get through the testing and everything, we just never know. You know, people drop out at the last minute and things happen, but we would like to get 3.
Our emails are all .com. The website right now is .net.
Says .net, yeah. But it forwards to .com.
Yeah.
So both work.
Okay. We have some probationary firefighters that are going to graduate off of being probationary firefighters this year, and then we're going to have some more probationary firefighters shortly thereafter. So just think about that, and I do want to extend a thank you for those company officers that have been working with our guys now. They're moving along really well. It's 10 new firefighters that this department will have here in the next year or so. So we get a lot of new people in. Station 62 we've already talked about. I wanted to give you an update. Last time we met, I know it's been a little while since we met, but last time we met we had a little breakout session and we talked about response plans from the different stations and how that might look. And I do have a rough draft of all your input from that meeting. I took all of your notes and charts and everything, and I kind of put it in a rough draft format. Next meeting, I will get it out to you guys, so you can their individual stations should be responding based on their crew and call type. So thank you again for your input, and I'll have it out to you next meeting. You guys can have a look at it. We did put in for a regional AFG SCBA grant earlier this year with Bellingham, South Whatcom Fire Authority, District 7, and us. We got notification that we got turned down, and they turned us down really quickly this year. And the unfortunate side of it is that FEMA does not tell us why we get turned down. They just say, "I'm sorry, you got turned down." But it's really difficult when very difficult. So we are moving ahead. Our SCBAs are expiring, and we are going to move ahead to purchase new SCBAs. We just have to do it. So we're going to budget for that and get that process going soon. Was that your question?
No. Through AFG, you can schedule meetings with people, and they can tell you why you've been turned down. To Bellingham, District 7, or South Whatcom, and what they're going to do moving ahead, I don't know. But those are things the committee will address. Yeah. Okay, any questions on that? All right. So moving on to a couple of things here. You guys are going to start in training next quarter, I believe it is, or this quarter in some rope rescue stuff. Captain Jorgensen has put together a keep up on a program like that, but we are doing some low angle work, 3-to-1 stuff. Captain Davidson got the rope together here. It's been now a couple of years. Put together a great policy for that. That's in place, but the training and equipment is now in process. So he's got all the equipment, and he's going to start doing the training.
Your training?
All right. And then we already talked about the new 8th car. That's another piece of equipment that we're going to have in service soon. As you can tell, Captain Jorgensen is not here today. You haven't noticed that already, but he did. Nelson and load delivery in our officer development program today. Bennett Nelson, it's all yours.
Yes, ma'am. So, I was going to talk about this last month. I changed my life a little around today to John. So with Captain Aaronholtz and I switching stations last year, I received the ECFP system again. And my captain and Chief Hollander know that it was a little overwhelming at first for me to wrap my brain back around it. John is more computer oriented than I am, so it took me some doing to wrap my brain around the system he had in place, and I've just tweaked it a little bit. On the back of, well, it's a few things. So what we've done is Captain Aaronholtz had done a nice spreadsheet and got the files maybe 5 files away from being equal on size. So in our file cabinet in the office, you open up the top 2 drawers. A and B is currently on top, C and D is on the bottom. Next calendar year, A will move to B, B to C, D to A. So we're going to keep those blocks the way they are, and the shift will just be responsible for it, and we'll rotate those every single year. So every we had to steal a little bit from each of the areas, but it evened it out. And then I was in conversation with Joel about how to identify the high life hazards, ones that we do every year, and the stuff that is every 3 years. Jenny helped me by sending over a bunch of different colored file folders. And I think Leslie was maybe the only one that I haven't chatted with because she was gone a bit. We just those I'm proposing that we put in a red file, so that visually when you open up that file or that drawer, visually you see red files in each of the blocks, and those point out the high life. The schools in Blaine, I've all put in orange ones, and they're all blocked together. They're no longer dispersed through the blocks based on address. They're all pulled together. So when we hit that 1 week every spring for the schools, they're all right there, easy to find. Done is I cut a bunch of yellow papers into just strips as like bookmarks. And so I went through my block and everything. I went through every one, and if it's due this year, I left it alone. Everything is in a red or a green file basically. And so what I've done is if there's a business that I have is not due till 2019 or 2020, I put a little bookmark and I wrote the year on it. So you can just skip right on past there and then go to the next one. So with that, I've got mine going again. And when I sit and I schedule an appointment, one, it goes into CrewSense with my initials so that all the officers know who put that in there under the activities. That is done so that if in my absence or Joel's absence or Leslie's or whomever, that the on-duty captain at 63 can maintain that scheduled appointment's going to happen in our absence. Also, we've been getting these letters from, I get them handed back to me from Chief Hollander when the new, what's it called? Tegris sends these out to all of our businesses,
And if it comes back undeliverable, then he sends them to us. So between the four of us here at Blaine, if some of these come over, then you simply just look up the address, and whoever's block it falls into, just forward it to them, and then they'll take care of it. Or if you take a phone call from somebody, Jenny plugs you into a phone call that somebody calls up regarding these things, and they're kind of confusing to the business owners, then just take down the address. The address is very helpful, not just the business name, but we need to have that address. We can go look in our files and find out whose block that is in, and then again forward it to the appropriate shift.
And then yesterday we got about a half dozen of those.
Yeah.
So I divided them all up for each shift, and I stuck it in the very first file that is labeled A, B, C, or D.
Okay.
And that way, when you go to your file cabinet, you can open up the file and you can see there are some of those that need to be looked at.
And you already divided them up appropriately?
Yes, yep.
And that's okay too. That works as well. What I was doing is put a clip and put them in the shift mailbox. So there's two places to look, and that's acceptable. Just I guess an email
that way
saying
they're all in the same spot in the same file cabinet.
Okay.
In the city.
We think
that weren't on the 50s that I deleted.
Yeah, PO boxes.
Yeah, our PO box. Yeah, a lot of businesses have PO boxes and they don't take regular mail. So
Right.
Tabor sends it out to their regular mail address, it gets kicked back non-deliverable, but that's because we don't have their PO box on file.
So Chief, is there a way to get that whole list of Tigers?
Yeah,
Like in
you
one?
can log in.
Oh.
Okay,
All
that
you
would
need
be
is-
helpful because then.
Let me know you want to get in there and I'll give you access to the program. You can log in and you can see them.
The sprinkler systems, and so sometimes a business might just need us. They're like, look, we already, it takes some calling and some digging. What does that letter say? Well, it says this. Okay, that's meeting your sprinkler system. If they want us to sign off, then we can go there. And I don't know if we have a form for that. I haven't been able to find one yet. But I have seen some of the files that looks like in my shift. So you would just have to come to my box, drawer that I keep this in, mark B shift, and then if you open it up to that date, corresponding with what's on CrewSense, you'll be able to find my work anyway.
Mike, we agreed in the past that if whoever the officer was that did the inspection has to do the re-inspection.
Okay.
So, if, for example, let's say, for whatever reason, DJ was on
DJ, if he's the initial one.
Years ago, we were having problems between the re-inspection, picking up things that weren't picked up on the initial inspection or that were glossed over. And so it was bringing animosity.
Sort of what the code says is that if you go back and do a re-inspection, you follow the form unless it's an exigent circumstance like a lot exit or something like that. Otherwise,
you're not looking to do
you don't re-inspect.
You're only inspecting.
I told them.
Yeah, you're verifying that one or two items.
That's all it is. So that
find those things.
Clarification needs to happen with the company officers that are going in there and doing that, unless it's a chain exit or something weird that, you know.
someone else re-inspect. Just so because of the knowledge and what you said to the person when you were inspecting, and so there was a follow-through based on that person. So is that something
Maybe
that?
the three of us can talk more about it now.
That's what it is. On a re-inspection, you're only re-inspecting the infractions that the inspection found that needed to be
Unless it's a
corrected.
high life hazard.
Unless it's a life,
Correct.
life safety issue. Yeah, you don't find additional things, say, well, now we proved that, but we noticed this. Yeah, you
So
can't
in
do
that case, people would have to be very detailed in the location, the violation,
And I
exactly
can see where that's going, yeah.
where it is, because otherwise, you know, that's like people don't know exactly what is that. You've got number 27 down and the general information, but you don't know exactly where that location is.
So we need to take good notes, just like we do for everything else we do. We need to take good notes, and there's space for it. And just because there's different blocks doesn't mean you can't write a paragraph if you need to. You know, the number corresponds with the number on the back of the page. And if you need to take a few blocks to pinpoint exactly where it is, I say we do that. Be as clear. So say I initiate this one tomorrow, and later on, you know, they got a few things. Hey, discontinue that use of the cord, they plug it in otherwise, okay? So, good note taking.
For taking notes, one thing I do is I'll ask the business owner, building owner, how do you recognize this room right here?
Right.
How do you recognize this shelf?
Right.
And I write down what they say, that way if there's any question, I ask them, where is the hall closet 3?
Yeah, common
And then
verbiage
they
for
can
them.
take you right to it, and that way, even if you forget yourself, they can take you right to it.
Yep.
It's also good for the business owner because
Someone in their management that's with us in the board. So in the file cabinet underneath the printer is where this book is kept, and this has just a bunch of blanks and a reference book that you can refer to outside of the back of this. Some people take it with them, some people don't. Thank you. And it's this book here is the main thing that's in this box here. And then this is kept up in the between the files and stuff. And this is for time and ask me if I'm reachable, and I'll help you through it. I'm going to try to set my stuff up as clean and clear as I possibly can. What my intention is, you know, a month down, 2 months down the road, sort of thing. I'm trying to book them a couple a day. That's going to get in the way when we start doing host testing, stuff like that. I was asked to talk about customer service along with this, and I would point to an example that we just did a week ago at one of the churches, St. Anne's Catholic on H and 6. Time, whatever. So we put a ladder up there, and we put a little glue behind it. We stuck a couple nails in it to kind of hold it there while the glue dried. And that was something that we could get up on the ladder so the 70-year-old male that takes care of the church doesn't have to do. So that's the customer service that we extend all kind of places. When we finish someone's roofing, when we finish someone's concrete, stuff like that. If they ask us for a little help with the ladder, why not, right? It's just like going out to St. Anne to a high-ceiling home and, hey, can you replace my detector batteries? Same sort of stuff. So if they have a special request from us to do something, we just try to accommodate that as far as.
by the way, but as the engine companies go out to do these inspections, how important it is for you guys to pre-fire in your mind the layout of these buildings, the number of employees they have, the hazardous materials potential, all that stuff. You guys are out there to do your inspections, but in your mind as a company officer, you're looking at the whole thing, you know, hydrant locations and everything else that you may need in the event you're there at 3 in the morning in the dark. So,
yes, there's another form. I wonder if I have it here. There's another form right here. So the occupancy information when we were doing this. But there's nothing saying that we can't grab this again, hand it to the manager, whoever's coming around with this, have them update contact information, and then there's other space on here to identify those things. We can certainly do that. A lot of them were done already.
Those forms could seriously be updated though.
Yeah.
Most of the businesses now use email versus contact, and I do a lot of my scheduling via email for them, and then they can respond at any time, and Jenny, they don't have to go through Jenny, I don't have to wait for a phone call back. And I give them a list of dates on the email that they can choose from and times, and then I have documentation right there, I can print it off. And so
So I would suggest for the four of us that are scheduling these is when you're pre-loading your form like I had done here, just include one of those forms with this packet for the day and then take it out and take it to the business and update. It wouldn't hurt us just to do it this year. Let's just update our stuff this year. And then if we have to revisit it in a couple of years, we can do that again. But this probably would be a good time to just go ahead and do that. Okay? Yes?
Well, everybody, three of us. I was wondering if Image Trend, if Firehouse will update business information from Firehouse, will that be?
You know, in a week when I get it.
Right,
They have an occupancy in a module, but I have not been.
Is the understanding that we'll be able to download all of our inventory information?
That is the plan.
So, along with that, Firehouse, you know, there's proper documentation in Firehouse for ESAC keys, and every business can have all their information updated in Firehouse, including all the shutoffs, hazards, all that can be entered in there.
Yeah, currently if you go into Firehouse, there's an inspections tab, and I'm glad we talked about this because I forgot that. When we complete an inspection, and it is 100% complete, then we need to go into Firehouse or whatever we turn to, and go into inspections currently, and fill in that information. It takes just a couple minutes, and that is our true accounting for Chief Hollander when he gives us his monthly report to the commissioners. Yeah.
One thing, when I was up here and doing some of them, I would go into Firehouse, just the day of, before I was going out on that inspection, I would go out and print off occupancy information from Firehouse. It gives you just a full occupancy information sheet, and then I would provide that to
a written procedure for inspections, do we?
no.
So,
The last one was by Chief Bleeker, which was the PowerPoint, and that's the only sort of procedural kind of information that we have for it.
So I will, since each of you will work on that, I'll work with Lieutenant Nelson. We'll start to try to put together, because that kind of information like that, running a report prior to, you know, if three of you go with one, you know, I mean, we should kind of centralize that. I'll work with Lieutenant Nelson, start trying to set up a policy as well. I just had a couple of questions about this form. It says 4581 Bridgeway Linden Road. Is that what we want on the top of that form?
That's where pretty much all the fire marshal stuff is going.
Then on the bottom right here, it says yellow business representative.
Yeah.
The machine is pink.
Yeah. That was for Schmidt.
Okay, all right. And then the third thing on there is, I think that it is relevant and behoove us all, if you think about it, if you're working at 63, when you put the date or the address and stuff that you're going to, and we recognize you're having an inspection, that actually us jumping over and coming over with you, if you're doing a pre-fire plan, the inspection part, maybe we could do the pre-fire plan as well while you're in there, because I mean, 63 is obviously going to be second in for 61's area that they're going to be doing, so it makes sense to have 63 do some of that work, and maybe even bring the truck over and do some setups in that particular lot or whatever else in there. But so I think it's good for us to have, because hopefully everybody's doing that, but putting the inspections in there. With your initials and stuff, so I know if it's Leslie, I can call her up and have her work in B shift that day and say, hey, can we work with you on your inspection? Fatality fire that happened a while back at the nightclub. There's the scuttlebutt between what the fire department said they were doing and what they weren't doing. If you have a flagrant violation, that's a really bad violation and that kind of stuff, all your company officers carry your phones, take photos of that violation right there, that you warn those kind of things. And I think that if you think about being gone, hypothetically, let's just say you went on vacation or sick leave or something, and those are your inspections, and you have these violations, and now it's 2 months or 3 months before those violations were fixed out there. And they didn't get fixed, and so they're finding out, how much is the fire department liable for these fatality fires that happen out there. Always thinking it can't happen to us, but the fact is that, structure fires or something is, that does happen, and if we know that we have flagrant violations out there, that we're attempting to fix them.
And some of this comes back to communication too. So if it's my shift, I run into stuff like that, I'll communicate it with Captain Davison, and I'm going to CC Chief Hollander. Things, equally more important even, so the ball isn't dropped and forgotten, is to pass that on again. And just CC, if it's Captain Schmidt's day, CC him, and you could be CC or CC always, Ray as well.
I keep a file of all that stuff.
I just phone Chief Hollander and say, hey, there's this happening at this particular location. You might want to swing by here and check this out.
Let the top shift officer know as well.
Thank you.
Let the top shift officer know as well.
Make sure when you finish one that you finish at the firehouse. Because every commissioner meeting, I get asked, why are we only doing one or none a month? And that report comes right out of the completed ones at the firehouse. And so I'm put on the spot every month, on my end.
So it was uncomfortable for me the first couple of months getting that feedback, where's it all? It took me a little learning curve to get back into this.
Yeah, so I just want to say thank you very much for the work you put into that.
Any questions, just ask me.
Yeah, and then you had mentioned pre-fire planning. It's not just going to be the city of Blaine, it's going to be all of our stations are going to be asked to go out and pre-fire plan. That date is going to be in our new system.
I knew it was true.
But we're not going to wait for that. We're going to start our pre-fire planning very soon so that we can start gathering that data. We are trying to still figure out how to divvy it up appropriately, like Laurel. That's kind of a weird one, and so we're going to try to figure how we can divvy up that work so that it all makes sense and move crews over there. And we'll ask you guys, hey, you know. They are more focused on new stuff, mostly. So jump in here if you have any comments on this. But
they should have blueprints or layouts of buildings.
Yes, they can. What I don't want to do is deprive the crews the chance to get out there and do it themselves, because that's where you really learn. We can get that stuff from the county, but it's really important that you guys go out there and walk these buildings.
I was talking about measurements, for buildings.
Sure.
We can get that ahead of time.
You can get that
It's
on
less
the
time
assessor's
pulling
website.
tapes and.
You can get all that on the assessor's website.
Okay.
Water supply and hose lays and attack methods of how you guys would work certain situations, even on game calls. Where we're going to park, where we're going to approach, what's the best place to get a patient from. All of those things are really cool when you get out there and start talking to business owners and pre-planning your response into those things. A lot of the businesses around are 24/7 and they have different staffing. I know a lot of these places here in Blaine staff their places 24 hours a day. And so it's important for us to know how many people they have in there, when, what location of the buildings they're in, those types of things. And that's what really is important for me.
Touch, just so everybody's aware, business are not required to let us in. And this was proved several years ago when Bleecker was here. There was a lawyer who's still in the area on 3rd Street who absolutely refused to let us come. And so I had to turn that over to Bleecker. The final answer was, he didn't have to let you in there, quit calling him. So if you get that from a business owner when you contact them, I don't want you in here, just mark that down, communicate it, let me know, pass it forward.
How can they have a business license?
It's a voluntary program that they let us in.
They're not required to let you in to do it.
Did you have to pass a code to
But if
open
they don't,
the
we'll
business?
talk.
But a caveat to that is the Blaine Municipal Code needs to address that they can't get a business license without a fire inspection. That's how they can't get around
But that's
that.
the
They don't do this.
initial-
If
But
the
that's the
BMC
initial
doesn't say that, like the Mount Vernon ordinance says the same exact thing, you have to have an inspection before we give you a business license. So if you don't have a business license, you're operating illegally inside the city limits. So I don't know what the current BMC says, but Blaine Municipal Code, I think that's one of
Do you have to update that business license yearly?
every 3 years or whatever it is, I think, because, yeah.
So you might be able to sneak in that first year, but the 2 years after you might not until they.
It's just if the city of Blaine wants to, because we've gone after people for their property and that kind of stuff years ago, remember, and the attorney, Matt Elich, was people to comply with city ordinances, but eventually the city would hold a lien against the property or the business for not complying with the Blaine Municipal Code, but.
So you just need to review that code and make sure
Right.
we're in compliance.
Yeah.
And
And that's, I mean, if you want it to be voluntary, I'm just saying that that's one of the ways to get around it, is that the BMC addresses the fact that they have to have a fire inspection to be a business.
Well, I think
because
that
of
there-
public safety.
There are certain businesses that absolutely that is like the hospital, the schools,
Correct.
the.
That's state law.
But if you're like a single business owner and maybe you don't have any employees or it's a family business, I don't know.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Whatever, the BMC can address all these
Yeah.
things separately too.
Yeah.
So.
And if it's a business inside of the home, you're only doing that space that's occupied for the business.
Yep.
One good example, I think, is 936 Portal. It's that brick building.
Yep.
And they run their little shipping thing out of one room of that house.
And a warehouse behind.
And a warehouse behind. You cannot go through any other part of the house. You might be walking through their kitchen to get to the warehouse, but you're not looking at anything there. Whatever, blah, blah, blah.
It's always changing.
It probably would be prudent that every single year we just do like Stefan said, I'm gonna look at that tomorrow, and then print out that, hey, is any of this, is it all correct? Or can you update anything that isn't?
And open the lockbox and make sure
And
the keys
open the
work,
lockbox.
because they change their locks all
Is
the
that
time.
part of your inspection too, is that you go to the key box and you open it?
Yeah, generally, it seems like we've always looked to see if the door locks have changed.
Yeah.
for the Barnes family. I can't reach it yet.
Chad Mousen.
Well, they're way in the air. That's it. And you keep the vagrants out of the way. I guess. And we had to use group letters and everything. They're a long way off the ground. All right.
But it's interesting, Chief Hollander, like the Tegris stuff, there was like, just when you showed me those few things the other day, there's like 3 or 4 businesses that have not been at the address.
House data and downloaded it, and we had data in there for the
Right,
last 10 years.
because it's not always by the address, it's by the business name, and so that's what we're trying to get away from, is we're trying to get by the
Slowly
address.
cleaning it up.
That's what Aaron Holtz fixed right away when he took it over, is he put it by the address.
Yeah, you can't do it by the business name.
Yeah, because they change, they move around, blah, blah, blah.
They all have PO boxes too.
Yeah.
All right, good discussions. Thank you, LT, for all the information. Good job on that.
Overtime. What? I heard somebody's phone thing. I think it was an overtime.
Not enough to get the class. So he canceled that for now, and he'll look at it again in the future. I already mentioned this adverse terrain, boat training coming up. Insurance training, he wanted to just thank you for your participation. There's been a couple of classes that he put together. One was the anger, I don't know what it was called, anger or something. And then the other one was the True Colors class. Our new insurance company has a lot of training programs to offer, and so I'm sure you'll see some more coming up. But any
Pile of crap.
was it the curriculum or the delivery?
Both. But the good news is we have it on video, so you can watch it as many times as you want.
If you want to go to sleep.
Under the training tab.
Okay. All right, I will pass that on to you. Okay, we have currently 31 volunteer interest forms in the training division, and they're going to start interviewing them soon in preparation for the fall Whatcom County Recruit Academy, as well as interview them. Usually, we've seen over the last several years where we'll get a whole bunch of volunteer interests, and only a couple of them actually come around. It's just kind of the nature of it. But that's what's going on with the volunteers right now. We will continue to offer free CPR. It's on our website. I think, Jenny, do you receive phone calls too at admin regarding CPR? I think we saw it on the reader board.
Sounds like we're getting a lot of walk-ins at 63.
Yeah.
Every day people are walking in.
Yeah. So that's still offered. There's a American Safety and Health Institute. It's a little bit different than it used to be. So he's certified in that delivery now too. And Jordan teaches all over the county. He goes to a lot of places to do that. But he's getting a lot of good attendance. Have you guys heard from your community, your citizens that you serve, about CPR, and that they come to a class, or do they ask you guys about our CPR program?
I've sent people.
Yeah.
No.
The reader board helps.
Yes,
When the reader board 63 helps, people come back.
yeah, they come back
All
here
the
too.
departments been in the same place.
Yeah.
From halfway.
Next item on the up for bid is the training ground request. So if you are wanting to schedule time at the training ground, just go through Chris Parks. She keeps that calendar. Make sure that it's not taken by somebody. Give her a call or send her an email, and she'll get it on there. If you're struggling a little bit with times, get a hold of Captain Jorgensen and he'll help you get scheduled out there. So 12 and 69 been swapping back and forth. You guys get time out there?
Sometimes, but are you saying that if I'm on shift and I look and there's no one scheduled on the training grounds, I have to call Chris Parks to go over there and use it?
Not necessarily. If you don't see anything on there, then
if I see something on there, I'm not going to call to go use it because someone's using it. But if there's no one using it, do I have to call her?
no.
Okay.
What it means is if you want to use it at a certain time frame and there's nobody on there, call and reserve it.
If I'm scheduling ahead.
Yeah.
But it's also asking us to notify Chris if BFD wants to use it. Should they maybe do that themselves?
I think part of it is that sometimes the Station 4 officer will give the Station 12 officer a call and say, hey, do you mind if we come up and spray some water or something? And so that's probably where it stems.
So we should probably just refer them to Chris so they get in the habit of calling her.
Just communicate, just know that there's a lot of agencies that use it, and if you need it, just call and get it reserved so that you don't get bumped out of there.
And if you do want to train with them, which is what B-Shift has done a lot, she still wants to know about it. They still need to be informed that Bill Hamlin's using it.
Oh, so if we're out there with another agency, then it needs to kind of go through Chris, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, there's some liability behind that too. We need to know who's out there on the training.
So if it's just us, well,
No.
cool, but.
If you guys just wander out there and go train, no big deal.
Okay, another agency.
And at Station 12, and I would expand on this just a little bit. It's really important as a company officer to make sure that your station is secure before everybody goes to bed at night. Check the front doors, check, that the parking lot lights are on, that it's secure for the night. You're responsible for that crew and you're responsible for that equipment overnight. Make sure it looks good to you before you go to bed at night. Station 12 is a monster, and it takes a company come out and fix all the keypads and everything. We bought new doors for the tower. We got new key locks for everything. And within about 2 weeks, just because of training, a lot of those tower doors got pried and they got destroyed. It doesn't take much to beat up a door out there, especially when you're doing training. But at Station 12 specifically, Chief Hollander and Captain Jorgensen are working on getting that tower secured again. The problem that we're seeing down there at Station 12 specifically, keep an eye on the security of the training facility. Okay, when you go to bed at night, make sure everything's locked up, that there's not something funky going on out there. We don't have any control if somebody gets in there that we don't know about. I mean, we can't watch it 24 hours a day. We just can't. You have a camera out there to watch, but just make sure your stations are secure. Make sure it's good to go. All right, we don't want anybody hurt.
Says we found 2 kids there.
It doesn't say that. It just says 2 children were found.
White children? Not mine. That man only holds so many kids, so it's gonna buy less.
I don't know what he did with them when he found them. I don't know, but they were found. Right. So just keep an eye on your stations. All 4 of you. Make sure your station is secure. At 63, you guys are, it's your responsibility to walk around that station and make sure everything's locked up.
But you stop it, because I just did it last, I walk around every night of our station.
And we did get all the doors. All the doors have been upgraded there, so they
Mark leaves doors open all the time.
For ventilation?
during a normal workday, are the front doors left unlocked all day at all the stations?
No.
You guys usually have them locked up all day? Okay.
Because we never would remember to lock them when we leave.
Yep.
And you don't want surprise injuries you're not expecting.
Well, was that you down at 12 when that? Who was on duty that day that that guy ordered in?
Yeah.
Barry?
Burr.
Yeah.
Barry.
Yeah,
Well,
well, that was Blake.
You mean when the guy came in and left in his underwear and all that?
That was Burr, I thought.
Was that Burr? Yeah, I think that was Burr. Yeah. Tried to climb out a window and stripped off his clothes.
That guy.
Yeah.
We just promoted him.
And then one night there was a couple teenage girls that I think Wayne found the door.
I actually think it would be more fun to be the officer when the guy came back to his wallet. That was actually, I think, the more fun thing.
Yeah, did you guys find a wallet?
Oh.
He was pretty sheepish.
You know, we talked about the years ago putting cameras like that at the front door. In the TV room, they had a camera picture right there, and you could see who was coming up in the front of the station. We've talked about that for a long time.
Yeah. Doing things.
That's locked on the front door, 63.
I wanted to share a story with you guys. I wasn't going to, but I changed my mind. Monday night, I got the privilege of being part of quite a unique situation. I was on my way home Monday night from work, and I was in my car, and I was sitting on Sunset in front of Safeway out there. And I was stopped at the stoplight, and right when I stopped, Bellingham got a call for CPR in progress in front of Safeway. And I turned around over my shoulder and I looked and I saw Bellingham Police Department at the bus stop there on Orleans by, you probably know where that is, Tony, by Safeway. And I could see So I was able to get my AED attached to him and turned it on and analyzed, and it said shock advised. And I thought, wow, that's amazing. I shocked the guy once. I delivered one shock, and after that, his eyes started to flutter and his head started to move and started to come around. He went back out again. We did some more chest. Into the cath lab at St. Joe's. Found no blockages in his heart. They did install a automatic defibrillator for him because it was AFib that his heart went into. And I got the privilege to go meet him yesterday. He's doing great. And I'll show you a picture. This was in the ER just yesterday. I'm sorry, not in the ER. In his room. His name is Douglas Houston. He's 47 years old. He's a Bellingham resident. He works for Goodwill here in Bellingham. And he wanted me to came together for him that day. It's pretty unique for us to get such a success story. So I thought I'd share that with you guys. Everything went really well for this guy that day, starting from the bystanders that called 911, the police officers started chest compressions on him really early, all the way through and getting into the hands of the surgeon that evening. So on behalf of Mr. Houston, he just wanted to say thank you to everybody for how it all came together. He's going to be going home in a couple of days. So
they say what actually caused the heart attack?
Yeah, I talked to that, and then what he remembered through the whole event. And he said that he rides the bus every day, and that he was running late, and he physically was running to the bus stop and collapsed. And from what the report was from the ER was that he went into AFib.
because of exertion. So he didn't have any cardiac history at all prior to that. He has some family history, I think, somewhere, but he just collapsed right there from exertion. He did say that he is making some major lifestyle changes. He's a smoker, no more. Is he going to touch that? Some other things that he's going to change, but he said that he's really a changed man now. Things are quite different for him. But I thought I'd share that story with you. It's pretty unique, and we don't get the opportunity to see such success like that, but it was really cool. So,
do they contribute the early defibs to it?
Yeah.
To the success?
Yeah, I think so. The chest improvement.
It's cold-blooded right there.
You swap out patches with the medics?
I still have the dirty ones.
There was
They're on your rate card.
You can swing by Goodwill, you probably get a pair.
Okay, A shift. What do you got?
Oh, yeah, I haven't been there yet.
It's pretty busted up out there, the steps going up into it, and we're gonna look at trying to clean that whole area up and put a new patio or mezzanine or whatever on there. So, but, yeah, other than that, that's all we got. Somebody got 63 guys most of it. Yeah, that's it.
Anybody else? Was there any more A shifters that got stuff? No.
Board's coming back. I did go back down to 12. One thing that I've gotten some feedback from firefighters recently was some disappointment in training approvals, that people are getting denied for trainings that could be relevant and helpful. And as far as they've seen, there hasn't been any like set parameter or guideline. It's kind of arbitrary of which training stop putting in requests and are just going on their own to better themselves. And it would be nice if we had either more people getting approved for trainings or at least clear parameters of what trainings are going to get approved and what trainings are getting denied, because that ambiguity and arbitrary nature of it is just frustrating.
So historically, it's always been that way. About 6 months ago, I think it was, we started to develop guidelines for it and how best to manage that part of the training division. So there's stuff on paper right now. It's in review. It's just not done. We've recognized that deficiency for a long time, and we've tried to fix it for a long time. It's just not fixed yet.
Right.
I see exactly the frustration.
Yeah. You know, a second-year firefighter assigned to 63 who wants to go to a trucking and get trained on it, and they can't because they took a classroom event, a couple months ago.
Yeah, and I was just gonna add to what Stefan was saying, because that was the example I was gonna use, but then why offer the ability to even put in an application for training if they're gonna be denied? One person, out of, how many employees, and they work at that station and they're operating off of that piece of equipment, you think that would be, boom, done. That person's motivated, that person wants it, there's no one else. Things because, I'm on the way out, but these new guys that come in that are here for a year, 2 years, 3 years, it's like, they need to have that opportunity, and that's where the money should be spent. So I think it's ridiculous that they're continually denied, and that's not the only recent example. And having a policy that you're working on is great, but in the meantime, these people are not allowed the opportunity to go to training. So it's frustrating.
There are a lot of training classes that are approved as well. It's not that everybody is being denied.
I understand that, but trainings like that are key for people who are working on that kind of apparatus. And there's a lot of money in the training budget, and we're saving some money by doing all these other trainings. I agree that there needs to be parameters and how the decisions are made, but continually having people denied training opportunities makes for poor morale. That's all I have to say.
I've found a lot of success with reaching out to Captain Jorgensen and advocating for my guy that wants to go to trainings and explaining to him maybe more than the application for training allows. Look, this is why. And I've personally, I found that I've had a lot of success with getting Levi specifically classes by reaching out and talking to Captain Jorgensen once the initial denials are sent out.
Living in both worlds before, everything everybody has said has been accurate. I would also encourage people, particularly the young firefighters, and as your company officers, if you know that they have those interests, another way to help to facilitate that, and I understand everything you're saying, if they're thinking, I want to go to a truck academy, and things like that, those big ones like that. So I would encourage that also as a way to forecast and see to help facilitate it and get that in the budget process. So it's there forward. So just wanted to throw that out there because that's a big deal. A lot of it's cost.
A lot of it is, yeah. Okay.
I think the gist of it too sounds like it's just some more communication as far as why it's being denied. Is that fair to say?
What else?
Are we good with the order?
We're moving to good the order.
Any update on the Medicare and Medicaid reimbursement for transport?
GEMT? Yep. So we just had our final meeting with them on start to see some of those funds come in later on this year. All of the documentation has come in and it looks really good. So it's in the process, and help me with those figures here. If you can, I believe that for 2017 that the reimbursements are around $300,000. for that program, and then once we get through 2018, then they'll go up according to 2018's transports.
So is that an annual reimbursement we'll be able to apply?
And those are all pulled out of our EMS system for Medicare, Medicaid transports. Then we'll get reimbursed appropriately for those specific transports.
Is there specific parameters as far as what that money can be spent on? Is it apparatus, stations, training?
The way that I understand that is no, it's not specific to what it's spent on. It's solely the judgment of the department.
So it goes back into.
That's the way I understand it, yeah. Unlike mitigation fees, mitigation is very, mitigation.
Right, yeah, no, I know there's some things that are just, you know.
So now they have all the data, they gotta calculate the exact, what our exact.
Money comes from the federal government.
That's correct. Yeah, it's a federal program. Yeah.
So
more training may get approved.
Is that considered a stable funding source, or?
That's been one of the questions.
That's one of the questions that we've asked also. It's like any other government-funded program. They can take it away at any time. So
how long has this been going?
It just got passed, didn't it?
It just got passed for the state.
Okay.
It's been available for quite a number of years around the country, but Washington State just approved it through their legislature.
If that's a money we never had before, could you take a percentage, put it into training, percentage, put it into general, percentage, put it into, that way there's a way to up a few of the budgets, i.e. training. You never had the money before, so why not?
It just changes your income, whichever year when you do it, but you go, here's our income for this year, and then you apply it to your different provisions. It'll just change the projected income for next year.
It increases the overall budget, yeah, and then it's allocated appropriately. Some will go to debt, some will go to other funds, some will go to capital, some will go here, yeah.
Go to ambulance. Yeah, I'm being told there's no limits to general fund money.
The other thing I had more for Chief Hollander was 69 officers phone wants our Apple ID password.
Yep.
Keeps asking for it.
Yep.
Can you say why?
Welcome 21. No, NW. I have it on my notes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
welcome in fire 21.
It's only to do the updating for the settings. Yeah. They're all the same. I have. I can give it to you tonight.
Yeah, or text it to the company, whoever's on duty today.
I don't know why you text it to me.
Keeps popping up. It's getting irritating.
Yeah, it's to get the latest software updates is what it's.
I think it's in the key. Okay,
I'll look it up right now.
Please turn in your white gloves. Have the crews do it.
Well, I didn't stay white very long. They wore them a couple days at work.
We're in the station supposed to go to.
You're supposed to go goats.
Any more good of the order? No, thank you all for coming. Got out a little bit early and joined the meeting today.
I'll give it to you right now. Help me with that. One can fire. One can fire 2-1. I know. I had to. Chris programmed them all, and then he forgot, so I had to reset them all.
We're off after today.
Oh, me too.
Off for 4. Yeah. But I think it's going to be 4 games. So
Thanks. I only